Hi, I'm Ryan Southworth with Rocket Dad, where we encourage dads to spend time with their kids building rockets. This video is an introduction to beginner rockets. We're going to go over the parts of a rocket, then the materials of the rocket, how to launch the rocket, and then the rules. There are a couple rules. We'll cover those at the end. And if you stay all the way to the end, we'll light something on fire. Stay tuned for that. All right, the parts of the rocket. Ben, why don't you walk us through the parts of the rocket?
Okay, so the parts of the rocket are, well, first things first, you got the nose cone, then the body tube, then you got a couple things on the body tube. So you got the launch lug, you got some fins. Normally you have 3 or 4 fins. Then you got the launch, you got the engine hook, and then inside the body tube, when you take this out, the engine inside will make this little poof, and all this will come out, and then you got your parachute right here that'll open up and come down and save your rocket from breaking apart when it lands. Then you got your shock cord, and then you'll also put some wadding in, and I'll explain that in a little bit.
All right. Why don't you explain what goes in the engine as well?
And you got the engine, or the motor mount tube. That's right there. So when you put it in, it'll go just like that.
That's perfect. And then how does that engine mount tube, how does that stay centered up inside there?
Well, then you take a centering ring and you just plop that right there, and that's one of the first things that you'll do.
And all that is part of your kit and in the instructions. You can just leave it there. It's fine. All right. So those are all the parts of a rocket. Then we get into the building materials of the rocket. Why don't you explain the building materials?
The building materials, you'll need some sandpaper for the fins to kind of make them real smooth. You also need wadding. So the wadding protects the parachute from when the little baby explosion inside of it will poof it all out. It won't melt the parachute, so you put some wadding in. And it's kind of like toilet paper, but you don't want to use toilet paper because then toilet paper would light on fire and then your parachute would melt, and that won't be good. So then you're also going to want some scissors, any pair of scissors. You also want what was it called? This is a
hobby knife.
Hobby knife. I always forget that. This is a hobby knife to sometimes cut out your fins and other stuff like that. Then you'll also need some tight bond 2 wood glue. That's always a good handy type of wood glue for when you have your fins. You can put that on your fins and your fins won't come out when it launches. Then you can also have some masking tape, just like a inch wide.
Inch wide, yeah.
Inch wide.
That's right.
Masking tape.
That's right. All right, that's the materials you'll need in all of your rocket kit. Everything you need for the rocket itself would be inside your rocket kit. So this is a Crossfire we have launched many a times. Here's a brand new kit, what that looks like in the bag, and you can see inside it has all the materials to build the rocket itself. But some of the extra things you would need to buy is the wadding to protect that parachute, and the instructions explain exactly how many squares you need to put in that. Again, do not use toilet paper. It will catch on fire. The wadding is what you want to use. You would also need to buy some engines. So this is a 3-pack engine kit. So you would be able to launch your rocket 3 separate times. When you buy this, you can launch your rocket 3 separate times with this. Why don't you unpack the engines and show us what's inside there?
So inside, we already got it cut out. If I can get it out. There we go. So as you look in this, there will be 3 engines for 3 launches. You got normally 4 plugs, but one plug got loose. Then you'll have also 4 igniters when you only need 3. It's just in case if one doesn't really go off, you got an extra pair right there.
I'm gonna pull out one of the engines.
And one of the engines will just go right over here. And you want to make sure that they don't put it in like that. You put it in like that because the hole, little baby hole right there, is where the end of the igniter is going to go in to launch it off. So when you put it in, sometimes it's a little tight putting it in, but.
And so I find when you're putting it in to pull the engine hook back is because that pushes on it pretty hard. So you pull the engine hook back to put that in.
Yep.
And Ben put that in just right where you can see the hole from the propellant right there would look just like this. If you put it in wrong, it would look more like that. So you don't want to look like this. You would want it to look like this for where you would put the igniter into. All right, let's talk about how we would launch this rocket. How are we going to launch this?
If you go to a rocket launching site, you won't need, you won't normally need any of these materials, but like if you're gonna launch it across the street, it'll be fine.
And so this rocket launcher comes apart, obviously here, that just kind of fell off. So this is really a great thing that this breaks down, the wire comes out, and which is really good because you can transport in your vehicle really easily. Just break that down, and it pops all together really quickly. So an easy thing to do there.
And when your rocket goes on, again, that launch slug just slides right onto there, so your rocket would look like that.
Perfect.
Attached to the rod.
Let's put that on.
So
All right.
just like that. Then you pop one of the igniters in, and then a plug.
That's right, and that's a good point. Let's go ahead and light that up. So to put that in, I find it easiest to put, so Ben, go ahead and cut the igniters apart.
So these igniters, you just cut it apart. Doesn't matter, there's no wires across them, so.
There are 4 completely separate igniters, so put that to the side.
And then what you do is you put it in right there, and then you want to look where your launch lug is. So our launch lug is right there. So you don't want to bend it like right there. You want to bend it off to this side, like over there.
Why don't you grab one of the stoppers?
So you push it in all the way, then you bend it off to the side, and then grab a stopper.
Now the stopper, sometimes when you pull the stopper off, will have a little plastic thing on the end. So you pull that off so that it will look just like this. And so once you have your stopper, you make sure your igniter is all the way up in there, and then you put your stopper inside, and then you just push it in nice and snug so it's seated all the way up against that. And that's how your igniter should look.
Yep, and you might be thinking, well, if that plug's in there, how's the engine gonna go off? It's just gonna plop it right out.
Yeah, it pops right out. So that's how you want it to look. And then the other little trick I found with the igniter ends, you're gonna be hooking up a controller. You're gonna be hooking up these 2 little clips to that. These wires are pretty small. I found it pretty nice to basically fold these in half. So you kind of bend them up like that, and that gives the clips a little bit more space, a little bit more area to clip onto. So I usually always bend these up like this. And then you also want to keep them apart a little bit. So keeping them apart because you don't want these to touch at all. So I kind of keep them apart about that far apart, and that looks good. All right, let's load this up.
So it goes right on like that. Then you're gonna need a controller where you'll have 2 gators right here, and it doesn't matter which side you put the gators on. You just
And before we do that, we're going to be a little extra safe before we do this. So before we clip it up, we always want to make sure on the controller itself, that depends what kind of controller you have, get to know what your controller is. This one has a key. So this little pin that goes in here is called the key. And so if you're ever working on hooking your rocket up, you need to ensure the key is out. You want to be safe. Then when you were to launch it, you put your key in, and you don't just put the key in like such and try to push the button to launch it. You actually requires 2 fingers. One finger to push this down. You actually have to push it down pretty hard, which I think is really good because it really kind of takes some effort to get this live. So when you push that button, it's going to light it off. So when you would want to light it off, you would push this down hard, and
until the light comes on.
Until the light comes on, and then you say 3, 2, 1, launch, and then you push it and it will launch. And so as we hook this up, I'm going to make sure we take the key out. And you want to go ahead and talk about securing it?
And so when your rocket goes off, you don't want these wires to be going up with it. So what you do is you tie it around here, just like that. Just do like a little baby knot, so that it won't come through.
Perfect.
Then what you do is you take both of these ends and you clip one right there and one right there. Actually, I'll put that in a little more. Yeah, these are so small, so hard.
They are small, they're a little hard.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
That looks good. And one thing you want to make sure is that these 2 metal gator clips do not touch. If they're touching, you won't be able to launch your rocket because electricity will go right through that spot and not go through your igniter. So you really want to make sure these are separated just enough. Then when you're ready to launch, you would put the key in. I'm not going to put it in because we are inside a house.
Yeah.
We are in our basement and we don't want to launch this rocket off. So I will not put this key in, and we'll actually unhook this right now.
So you just put your key in, and you clip those together.
Yeah, and while Ben does a test, show you kind of what the launch looks like, to really kind of test to make sure, I always clip these together, which completes the circuit, keeping it off to the side from this guy. And so why don't you show that?
So then you'll, for a test, you put these together, you'll put your key in, and you'll push it all the way down till that light lights up. I'll do it with my left hand. So you put your key in, push it all the way down, and then you'll push that button, and then the rocket should go off. But since it's a test, nothing's gonna light up.
Perfect. So that is kind of really how you would launch your rocket. Now I need to explain the rules. The rules of launching rockets are kind of really given to us by 2 rocket associations. There's NAR, National Association of Rocketry, and then there's Tripoli. 2 rocket nations. You can look all these rules up on there. Now all these rules really won't really pertain too much to your low power rockets. You're going to be all within those, but I want to explain them so you just kind of know what's there. So the first rule is that your rocket needs to be made out of paper, wood, or plastic, like breakable plastic. Those things are building materials for your rocket. And you can't have any major metal parts. So we mentioned that the engine clip that holds in that engine is made out of metal, and that's okay. You're okay to have that, but no major metal parts. Like you can't have a full cone that's made out of a metal. That's just a bit dangerous for.
And sorry to interrupt, but is that only for low power rockets, or can you do it with high power rockets or maybe mid power rockets?
So I believe the rule is for low power and mid power rockets, and even the high power rockets, you're not supposed to have major metal parts to it. Okay? So that's what the rocket needs to be made out of. The next rule is the weight. The rule is 1,500 grams. It has to be under 1,500 grams, which is 3.3 pounds, which is a pretty big rocket for 3.3 pounds. This rocket here, I believe, is about 2 ounces. It's like almost 2 ounces. So you can get pretty good sized rocket being under that 3.3 pounds, and that includes having the engine in there. The next rule,
it doesn't have to be 3.3 grams.
3.3 pounds?
It doesn't have to be 3.3 pounds, because if you're going over that, then it'll be considered either mid-power or high power.
That's right. That's right. All right. And then the next rule is the propellant. The propellant, they say, can't have, and the propellant is the amount of the stuff that burns inside your engines. These Estes engines are black powder engines, and these guys are pretty small in the amount of grams that are in them. The rule is you can't go over 125 grams. Now, to give you an idea of that, inside the rocket is an A engine, this is a C engine, and this is a big E engine. You can see that the E is quite a bit bigger than the C engine. So to give you an idea of how many engines you would need to be able to get that 125 grams, for the A engine, you would need 40 engines to get to the 125 grams. A B engine would need 15 engines to get to 125. A C, you would need 10 of these. That's a lot of firepower. In an E, you could get away with doing 3, but if you were to do 4, that would put you over the 125. So that's just to give you an idea that any low power, you should be totally fine within that realm. And then one more thing, the rule is if you're launching a rocket somewhere, you have to have permission of who owns that land. So if you're going out to a field, whoever owns that field, owns that land, you have to have permission from them to do that. If you're going to a rocket site, they already have the permission and all that to launch, as long as you're launching it during when they have people there and they have somebody who's on site running that launch site, that's okay then. And then if you go there, you do not need a launcher. The rocket site will have the launchers, they will have the controller, so they'll have those type of things. All you would need to bring to a rocket site is your rocket. Make sure you have your wadding, and bring some engines to light your rocket off. So, but going to the rocket sites are super fun because there's lots of other people there who are just there to enjoy safely launching rockets.
And on some rocket launching sites, there can be some big rockets, and so you don't even have to have a rocket to go to a rocket launching site. You can just sit there all day watching those big old rockets launching off.
That's true. A lot of times we'll go there, we'll launch our rockets, and then we'll just bring our camping chairs and bring our lunch and watch some really big rockets. It's a lot of fun.
Because we go to a big rocket launching site. So there's some pretty big rockets, and there was one. It was a K1000 that like shook the earth.
It shook the earth.
It shook the earth.
Shook the earth.
Well, it was shaking me in my chair, and I was like, as it was going off.
That it did. All right, that is about the end of our video here. I did promise to light something on fire, so how about we light something on fire? What do you say?
Whoop!
All right, let's do that. We are going to light an igniter. We can actually just pull the igniter off of that engine since we already have the clips kind of bent already.
Okay.
I'm going to tie this onto here just so we kind of have it nice and secure. I do not recommend doing this inside. Always have a parent supervision to do something like this. You always want to be safe. So we'll have a big fireball off of our igniter here. All right, we have it tied up. Our first tip was to make sure that the key is out of your controller, which it is, and we'll go ahead and clip it up.
Can I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm gonna I like to clip it from the sides.
Clipping it from the sides helps because it helps keep those from not touching.
Yep.
That's good. Perfect. All right.
Those aren't touching.
That looks good.
And that one wasn't really on too well. There we go.
All right. All right. Here comes the big fireball. Make
It's gonna be
sure
like, it's a big one. No.
we got to make sure our engines are out of the way. Make sure these engines are out of the way from the big fireball. All right, Ben. You want to do the controller and give us the countdown?
Okay. So during a countdown, you can put your key in. It's
There we go.
So ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was a lot of big fireball.
Man, like, you know, after you see something really bright, and then there's just like this black part, like where
A little dot right there.
Dot. I can't even see it.
So this igniter is good to launch off any of these Estes engines from A's, B's, C, D, E. No problem lighting these off. Once you go up to kind of some of the bigger rockets, the different types of rockets outside of the Estes engines, you would not be using this igniter. You'd be doing some different things, which is more of a mid-power to a high-power discussion. All right, why don't you pull the key out right there so we'll stay safe. Excellent. Thank you for watching our video. I hope you liked it. Please give us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the end of our video today. Anything else, Ben?
Here, how about we make another long video?
How about we make another long video?
Yeah.
I agree. So Elsie will be, my daughter will be building all of our low power rockets. Ben's going to be building the mid power rockets, and I'll be building the high power rockets. So it'll be a lot of fun. So please stay tuned for more videos. I'm Ryan Southworth with Rocket Dad, where we encourage dads to spend time with their kids building rockets.